The laws of kosher are incredibly complex and lengthy, being one of the most vital concepts in all of Judaism. So important, in fact, that the test that officiates you to become a rabbi, known as smicha, is almost entirely on more complex areas in the laws of kosher. Naturally, it's also one of the most misunderstood concepts in Judaism, so I'm making this video to set the record straight. To begin with, kosher is often referred to as dietary laws, with the implication being that it's for health. Now, it may very well be that eating a kosher diet could allow one to live a much healthier lifestyle. However, the intent behind keeping the laws of kosher have basically nothing to do with personal health. Instead, the entire intent behind kosher is simply that God said so. If you start assigning presumed reasons to commandments in the Torah, then you open yourself to fallacy. For instance, if one were to assume kosher was simply about health, then if he discovered a food or supplement of a sort which he wasn't sure was kosher or not, but assumed based off its scientifically proven health benefits, or in a similar case, it's possible that he would make a mistaken presumption and therefore a severe mistake. So the reason for kosher is because God said so, it being a moderately healthy style of living irregardless. Okay, so kosher. Kosher, or kashrus, are the laws dictated in the Torah and explained in the Talmud as to what you can and cannot eat. Most of the laws are regarding meat, so I'll start with that. It says in Leviticus, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, These are the creatures that you may eat among all the animals on earth. Any animal that has a cloven hoof that is completely split into double hooves, and which brings up its cud, that one you may eat." So, in short, any animal which has split hooves and chews its cud is kosher. By the way, in case you weren't aware, a split hoof looks like this as opposed to this, and chewing the cud means that it brings back up its partially digested food and re-chews it. This includes animals like cows, sheep, goats, deer, gazelle, and even giraffes, although they aren't eaten for other reasons. Excluded are animals like rabbits, squirrels, bears, dogs, cats, and of course, pigs, all of which don't have split hooves, or in the case of the pig, don't chew its cud. So those are the general laws regarding animals. What about fish? Among all creatures that are in the water, you may eat these. Any of the creatures in the water that has fins and scales, those you may eat, whether it lives in the waters, in the seas, or in the rivers. So, it's permissible if it has fins or if it has scales. This includes salmon, trout, pike, mackerel, cod, and others. Excluded are things like shrimp, crab, octopus, shark, clam, oysters, and similar. As for birds, the Torah just gives a list of what is permissible and like 24 birds which aren't. Now, if you could find the common denominators between all the listed birds, you could figure out exactly which aspects make a bird permissible and what doesn't. However, all the names are in Hebrew, and a lot of the birds we aren't 100% sure on how to translate. But the general consensus in the Talmud is that the bird is permitted if it's not a bird of prey, and some other aspects regarding its crop or gizzard. So, the permitted kosher birds are chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese, pigeons, and even quail. Impermissible are birds like the eagle, hawk, ostrich, bat, raven, stork, and similar. As for bugs, almost all are impermissible to eat. There are, however, some very specific species of locusts referred to as permissible, but nowadays we're not really certain which kinds of locusts they refer to, so we just don't eat any bugs at all. So that's the basics. After this, however, are the laws of slaughtering. Now, these are incredibly complex. Only one in like 1,000 become a sheikhet, or slaughterer. The general principles, however, are to minimize the pain for the animal as much as physically possible, using a special, incredibly sharp kind of knife, and the whole procedure which I'm not getting into. The animal also needs to be treated very humanely throughout the whole process, along with the general commandment to be kind to animals. There are also particular cuts of meat that aren't permitted for various reasons. Not only that, but after the animal has been slaughtered, it must be washed and thoroughly salted to remove every last drop of blood, as it's also forbidden for a Jew to eat blood. It's inspected, again, and then packaged with a special label certifying its proper shechita in accordance with the laws of kashrus. Now, that's by animals and birds. Fish don't have very complicated laws of slaughter, as they're considered to be slaughtered just by removing them from the water. Also, all produce of animals, such as eggs, milk, or similar, must be from a kosher animal. The only exception is honey from bees, as it's not actually really secreted by them. Okay, next up are the laws of meat and milk. It says a few times in the Torah, do not cook a kid in its mother's milk. The implication, expanded by commentary and the Talmud, is that it's forbidden to mix any meat and dairy products. So no cheeseburgers or similar foods that contain a meat and a milk or a type of cheese. Not only can they not be mixed together, but if you eat one of the two, you have to wait a few hours before eating the other. The general accepted custom is to wait 6 hours after eating meat and 1 hour after eating milk. There's also an additional thing about not eating fish and meat together, but that one actually is just a health thing. Anyways, this all extends to utensils too. A spoon, a pot, or even an oven that was used for meat can never again be used to cook anything dairy. Hence, in religious Jews' homes, there's an entire set of cutlery, pots, pans, sink, sponge, oven, microwave, burners, or other cooking fixtures designated solely towards dairy products, and one of all those designated for meat products. Not only that, but regarding utensils, food, even if it's entirely kosher, is made unkosher if cut with a non-kosher utensil, or cooked in a non-kosher oven. So, even if the food is completely okay, like an apple for instance, but it's sliced or peeled using a knife that was used on non-kosher food, it's made non-kosher. Similarly, even if it's an entirely kosher cut of meat, if it's put in an oven in which non-kosher meat was ever put, or any dairy product, it's made to be non-kosher. The process of koshering your utensils, ovens, sinks, and kitchen in general is lengthy and complex, but must be done if you want to be able to eat using any of it. It's for these reasons that it's very difficult for a Jewish person to eat food prepared by a non-Jewish person. The laws are much lengthier than what I'm explaining now. Even most Jews aren't fully knowledgeable on the whole subject, and if any part of the food making process was done incorrectly, for any of the above listed reasons, it's not permissible for us to eat. Now, that was all for meat. As for most other products, such as fruits, vegetables, water, and any other basic natural food without additives or bugs, are permissible, as long as it was naturally grown and not, say, grafted. There's also an additional stringency regarding wheat-based products and dairy-based products, called Pas Yisrael and Chalav Yisrael, which is that a certified rabbi monitors or participates in the actual production of the bread, for instance, or the harvesting of the milk, just to be safe. But it's mostly just an extra stringency. You can tell if this has occurred based on the added symbol on the packaging. Which brings me to the next subject, which is store-bought foods. There are several organizations or unions which work closely with major food production units, wherein they go through the ingredient list, check the utensils, and sometimes have an on-site professional monitoring the food production, making sure everyone abides by the laws of kosher. If and when it does, the packaging is certified with a symbol confirming its kosher status. There are several organizations, such as Orthodox Union, whose symbol looks like this, OK Kashrus, this, CRC, the Chicago Rabbinical Council, which looks like this, and a few others. So if you want to know if a product is kosher, just look for one of those symbols on the packaging. Also, you shouldn't just presume based on the ingredients as to whether something is kosher or not, as often these products could be produced in factories which also produce non-kosher foods, hence they don't receive kosher certification. In all, I'd say maybe less than 10% of factory-produced foods in a given supermarket are kosher, and almost all restaurants or fast food locations definitely aren't. So practically, if you want to keep kosher, you need a very particular kitchen and to home cook nearly all your meals using particular ingredients. And for some people who live in more isolated parts of the world, it's nearly impossible to get kosher meat products or dairy. Of course, if you live in a city with a larger percentage of Jews, such as Los Angeles, Brooklyn, or parts of Florida, there are some kosher restaurants with certification. You just need to make certain. There's also a lot of miscellaneous details I'm not getting into, such as the special laws of produce harvested in Israel, the complicated laws regarding wine, and the special laws regarding Passover. But this has just been a general overview on the laws of kosher. I hope you found this video informative and that you enjoyed it. With that said, thanks for watching and have a good night.